Hi, everyone. I'm so happy all of you are here today. Welcome to the Mental Health KC webinar today. I'm Jamie. I'm with Metro Council, and Metro Council is the Metropolitan Council of Community Mental Health Centers. It's a collaborative membership representing the public mental health system of community behavioral health centers. And that includes, and sorry, we serve the whole Kansas City metro area. It includes University Health Behavioral Health, SWOPE Health, Rediscover Mental Health, Comprehensive Mental Health, which is about to be Centerstone, Beacon Mental Health, Johnson County Mental Health Center, Wyandotte Behavioral Network, Center for Behavioral Medicine, and Mental Health America of the Heartland. So we are so happy that you are here today. We provide support and education and information and resources regarding quality mental health, behavioral health. And we host these webinars on the second and fourth Thursday of every month, but we also host the Mental Health KC conference. And want to tell you just a little bit about that before we get started. But Mental Health KC conference is actually coming up this year, May 28th and 29th, just in 2 weeks at the Johnson County Community College, and registration is open. I'm actually going to put registration in the chat. We are still accepting registrations. We'd love to see you. Actually, Susie is going to be one of our presenters. So really excited. And just so you guys know a little bit about the conference, we will have about a little over 80 breakout sessions. We have two incredible national keynote speakers. Dr. Zakai is talking about Hope for Cynics. It's actually his book. And we also have Chris Calico, who is actually a local rapper. And he is going to be talking about his mental health. And so we hope everyone's able to attend. As I said, Mental Health KC conference will be coming up in 2 short weeks. We hope to see everybody there. And if anybody would like more information, let us know. And just a reminder for our webinar today that the views and opinions expressed are those of the speaker, don't necessarily reflect those of Metro Council. A couple things you guys are going to notice. We're on Zoom webinar. And so with that, it just means that you're able to see the speaker, you're able to see the slides, you're able to see me as the host. However, you will not be able to see each other. So that we have Zoom webinar because regular Zoom only allows up to 100 participants. And we want as many people to be able to attend our webinars as possible for free. And so we have Zoom webinar that allows us then to have up to 300 people. So we're so happy that you all are here today. I want to introduce Susie. Before we get started. So a little bit about Susie. Susie is a South Dakota State University graduate. In 2005, Susie received her master's in science and counseling and human resource development. And she's a licensed professional counselor and also a certified reciprocal alcohol and drug counselor, previously working as a school counselor, a drug court counselor, and a community mental health therapist. Susie now owns and operates a large group private practice, Country Crossroads Counseling, LLC, where she enjoys helping children, teenagers, and adults work through their issues to live a positive and productive life. One unique part of her practice is that it's located in a horse barn in the country near Kingsville, Missouri, and she often uses animals and nature as part of her therapeutic approach, which actually she's going to be talking about, which is actually really exciting for the conference. She's not talking about it today. She'll talk about it at the conference. But as an experienced speaker, Susie enjoys encouraging people to help them achieve their life goals. She's passionate about getting the word out about mental health to the masses, and she has spoken to thousands of people at schools, businesses, and conferences across the country. She has spent a lifetime in and out of the saddle around horses, competing at the national level, and a proud Kansas City Chiefs fan. She has spent 13 seasons cheering on the KC Chiefs as a cheerleader, and by riding the horse war paint at home games and appearances. In her personal life, Susie enjoys spending time with her family and friends, going to the lake, riding and showing horses, and is a big Kansas City Chiefs fan. So, with that, I am so excited to introduce Susie.
Thank you so much, Jamie. It's such an honor to be here today. I've been so excited. I know months and months ago they sent me an email and asking if I could do this. And I've been a big fan of Mental Health KC at that conference. And I hope that all of you guys are able to sign up and go. It's a wonderful, wonderful time. So, you guys, I am so proud of you for taking the time today to invest in yourself because you all have such important jobs working in a helping profession and the work that you do every single day. I know can be so rewarding, yet at the same time so exhausting, right? And so I'm just curious. I kind of like to make my presentations a little bit interactive here. Could you guys give me a thumbs up in the chat if anybody in here feels really busy right now in life? Give me a thumbs up. Raise your hand. I love it. I love it. Lots of thumbs up there. Let me know too. Give me a thumbs up or raise your hand if you feel tired. Okay. Give me a thumbs up or raise your hand if you feel like you've ever said, I just need to make it through this week. Lots of lots of thumbs up there. Yeah. So you guys, we are with our people here, right? We all live this and we all feel this. And so that is why it is so important to take time to invest in ourselves, not only as professionals, but you guys, we're all human too. We go home to our families and we wear a lot of different hats. And so thank you for being on here today to invest in you and to take this time. I did, you guys, on this opening slide, we've left it up a little bit just so you guys can go ahead and scan that QR code. That I do have a really kind of interactive handout that I'd love for you guys to follow along with and go ahead and print it out after this webinar. And it's got some really good things and even just things for after the webinar that you can follow up on. And you can use some of them with your clients, which is pretty cool. So, if you're anything like me, you probably want to know what in the world are we going to talk about today? Well, the title pretty much sums it up. We're going to be talking about burnout. We're going to be talking about stress. I'm going to give you some hands-on tools that you can use again with in your own life, but also I know you guys have clients, that you see or people that you help. And so these things you can use with them as well. I do talk a little bit about mindfulness at the end because there's so much research supporting the fact that, especially as clinicians, how much that can help us in life to be in that moment and to really focus on our client and ourselves and whatnot. And then we're going to end with a couple slides on self-care. And so everything you guys you can use today in your professional and personal life. And so I'm only talking for about 15 minutes, so it's going to fly by. And I hope that you take some good notes and you enjoy everything today. So Jamie gave me a really great introduction, so I don't have to say much about myself. And some of you guys I know you. Some of you might be new, but I am a licensed professional counselor, and I love that part of my job. But one of my favorite parts of my job is I get to travel all over the place, and I get to talk to different groups and companies on mental health. I speak on suicide prevention, leadership, communication, all sorts of things, and I love that part. And Kansas City Chiefs actually brought me to the Kansas City area. I grew up around Minnesota, and so I'm grateful. They also started my speaking career, you guys, because they loved the fact that I was a counselor. And they said, Susie, would you take this horse and would you bring it into area companies and schools and give people a positive message? So kind of a fun little fact there. And now we have both of the war paints over here in Kingsville, Missouri, and they're therapy horses. So a little bit of backstory on that. I do run a private practice, a group practice called Country Crossroads Counseling, and we love what we do. We pop up all over kind of rural Missouri. We're very passionate about getting the word out about mental health. So, you guys, there's actually something called the ABC Club, which is stands for the Always Burnt Out Club. And basically what that is just what it sounds like. Just always kind of feeling like you're on your last leg and really struggling. And you guys, 7 out of 10 people actually report feeling overly stressed out. That's a pretty significant number. And you guys, and I'm sure this is no, surprise to you, but more women than men say they're stressed, and Americans are more stressed than any other country reports. Also, the workplace is noted as the number one cause of stress. And burnout rates drop by about 40% when employees feel supported by their supervisors. So there's things that we can do. I love a good meme. If you guys look at this, I love this one. Has anybody in here give me a thumbs up if you've said I'm fine when you weren't? We're the therapists, we're the people, right, that everybody comes to. Has anybody in here ever slept with your laptop beside your bed? Maybe doing progress notes? Has anybody in here ever answered emails while eating lunch in your car? Lots of thumbs going up here. Has anybody ever thought about quitting everything to become a goat farmer? Maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but just kind of a fun little yes, I see the hands going up. That's for sure. So, you guys, this is actually in your handout, but I do want for you to take a minute, in your own time later today or maybe this weekend, as we're coming on the weekend, and just go through these questions. And there's a ton of burnout assessments out there, but just kind of get a feel for where you're at because, sometimes we don't even recognize it that it is something that might be happening to us. Like we talk about it and it's a pretty significant buzzword, but we don't always maybe kind of know where we're at. And so if you guys, like I said, on the handout, this is on there. I'd love for you to take it and to kind of see where you're at. And there's other ones out there. And there was a study by Delate actually a couple of years ago, 2022, that says 77% of people have experienced burnout in their current position. And this is just really feeling, overwhelmed, unable to keep up with life's demands. And I don't know about you guys, but we became therapists and clinicians because we love to help people, right? And that is so important to us. However, it is very real that sometimes we just keep giving, 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 and we don't always take care of ourselves. So one of the steps to identifying burnout is just kind of knowing what some of those symptoms are. And you probably hear a lot of your clients or a lot of like the clinicians you work with that always say, man, I'm feeling so burnt out, or I'm feeling so, exhausted, that kind of thing. Well, here are some of the symptoms. And I know you guys can see my slides, but just feeling that exhausted kind of feeling, sig as far as like being negative and cynical about people's lives, feeling kind of detached, maybe anxiety about going to work. Sometimes we call them the Sunday scaries when you just kind of, get nervous about coming in. Maybe you feel like you're not as empathetic and compassionate as you normally is, towards your clients. Those are some things that you might notice. However, there are indicators of burnout that maybe others might notice, like your significant other, or maybe, your loved ones or another clinician. This can look like maybe you're physically exhausted or you're getting, kind of into the spot where you're forgetful, difficulty concentrating, you're procrastinating, you're just not interested anymore in life. And even something what we call escapism. And I've been talking a lot in my presentations about escapism just because I think that a lot of people do this, but they don't realize that there is a term for this. And this is something, that I think we all kind of do sometimes is where we just want to escape the reality of maybe we're feeling those overwhelmed feelings. And so maybe we emotionally eat, right? We deserve that blizzard. Or maybe if you're anything like me, sometimes you feel like you've had a rough day and you load up your Amazon, cart, right? Or maybe you sleep, you take a nap because you just want to avoid it. Or you go to the liquor store and get a bottle of wine because, for that moment, it makes you feel better, right? And so there's a lot of times that we escape things and they can be unhealthy for us. But there are some things, you guys, that we can do that is called healthy escapism, like maybe reading a book for 30 minutes or going for a walk. And so just kind of really knowing the difference between unhealthy and healthy escapism can really help us because, at the end of the day, if we don't deal with things in a healthy way, obviously those things will still be there. One of the things that I love to do is I love to help people realize that we can actually treat burnout. It doesn't have to be this end all be all that you have to quit your job. Just by doing these simple things on the screen, managing your stress, which we're going to do all of these today, by the way. We're going to practice some mindfulness. We're going to manage our time wisely. We're going to set some goals. These are all tips for burnout. We're also going to learn to build connections, make time for hobbies, learning the early signs of burnout, which we just did, and taking some time for self-care. This is especially important for mental health counselors because you guys, we every single day, and I'm preaching to the choir here, I know you guys know this, that we absorb emotional stress and trauma, right? We hear so many things in our sessions. And sometimes, we neglect ourselves because we are so invested in other people. And if there's any leaders in the crowd here, you know too that a lot of times we take on, other people's things and we deal with a lot of people, whether it's the people we lead or our clients. Also, we as counselors, a lot of times we will not address our burnout because we just have to keep going, right? Somebody needs to do our job. And so if we don't treat the burnout, we have what we call the Great Resignation that's been going on, especially since the pandemic. And it's been really significant in our field. People have left or they've turned over or they leave their job just because they're feeling this way. And that's exactly why I'm talking to you today about it, is because we don't want you to burn out. We need you here. We need you feeling amazing and doing the impactful, important work that you were put on this earth to do. So, can anybody tell me right now in the chat? Go ahead and just share what are some things going on in this world why everybody is feeling so stressed out and burnt out? Go ahead. Lots of things kind of coming in right now. It's wonderful. Our work, a lot of times, although we love it, it can be stressful. Money, our economy. The news. Did you guys know that negative news travels 6 times faster than positive news? I learned that the other day and I thought that was wild. Our political world is very stressful, right? Gas prices. I don't know about anybody else, but that's a pretty stressful thing right now. And social media, right? We have everything at the tip of our fingers, and our human brains are just not set up and capable of handling all the things that come our way, right? And of course, all these things are stressful now, and a lot of things actually triggered things for people actually when the pandemic started, and then after, as far as I know, you guys are all sick and tired of talking about it, but we've had higher depression and anxiety rates than we've ever had. People are reporting, more stress. We've actually had higher suicide rates and suicide attempts than we've ever had since the pandemic. And so we as mental health professionals have just had, kind of double duty as far as all of these things going on. But the one thing that I know that has happened since then is that we have opened the doors for talking about mental health, right? We have normalized it, through posting on social media, through movie stars and celebrities stepping forward like Simone Biles and talking about this and talking about that it's real, that people can experience these big things, whether it's burnout or whether it's stress or anxiety. And so that is a great thing, which leads me into getting into kind of the heart of our presentation here is learning these healthy ways of dealing with our stress. And I told you earlier, I love a good meme. So I want you guys to look at this little guy here. He says, ending a 14-hour workday like this. Why, yes, I'm a bit stressed. Why do you ask? Does anybody feel like that? I know this week for me has felt like that. Kermit the Frog over here says, sometimes I feel like I have my life together. And then I'm like, wow, that was a really nice 45 seconds. And isn't that wild too? That, you know what? Sometimes we feel like we're killing it and everything is going so well. And then all of a sudden something the other shoe drops, right? And something crazy happens and then you just feel like you're at kind of square one. And that is kind of the nature of our life, right? Is that we are always going to have stress. It's actually a byproduct of living. And if you woke up today on this side of the dirt, which you all did, and you guys are all breathing, which I'm really grateful for because there's people that didn't, you are going to experience stress. So I'm curious to know, get a little pulse of the crowd here today. What is your attitude about stress? Give me a thumbs up if you feel like stress is really, significant and it's a good thing for you, or if stress is bad, give me a thumbs down. If you have a negative, kind of view of it, if you have a neutral one, I'd love to see. Yep. Yeah, a lot of thumbs down there, right? Yeah, crying faces. Absolutely. I totally understand that. Yep. So, you guys, I'm gonna share something right now with you is that stress is actually a perception if you really think about it, right? There was actually a little study that was done where they gave two different groups of people a little paragraph to read about stress. And so some of the people got a little paragraph about how stress was actually terrible and it was bad for your health and it was debilitating and exhausting. Okay. And then the other group of people, they got a paragraph about stress that it was actually energizing and it was inspiring and it could actually help us. And it didn't have to be a bad thing because it could motivate us to help us reach our goals. And then at the end of that, they asked people how they felt. And obviously, it's a no-brainer to find out that the people that, got the energizing and inspiring paragraph felt like stress didn't have to be so bad. And so there's actually a book out there, you guys, and I highly recommend this book because it will not only help you, but it will also help your clients and the people you serve. It's called The Upside to Stress. And what it basically does is it teaches us that stress can actually help us learn and it can help us grow. It can actually help us be more strong. It can help us be smarter and even more successful. And people actually do their best work under stress. So I want you to think about, was there a time, and I don't know about you as a clinician, but sometimes I struggle with my therapy notes, right? To get them all done on a timely manner and make sure they're good and up to par and whatnot. And you know what? When I have a big to-do list, and then I knock it out, it actually feels really good. And so that stress of actually having that thing actually motivated us to get it done and to do a good job at it. So it's pretty wild when you kind of start to shift your perspective just a little bit about it. And in our company, we have this little saying that says, if you want a gift, it comes in the form of a problem. And if you want a bigger gift, it comes in the form of a bigger problem. Well, what does that mean? Is that stress can actually be a good thing for us. It can actually be what we call a gift, a wonderful learning opportunity to grow and to get better. Now, in the moment, it might not feel like a gift, but once you get through it, it actually does help us. So, for example, we, as a company, we go through audits all the time. We're going through a Medicaid audit, and right now it is a gift because we're learning and we're growing, right? Because we're taking that all in and using it as a positive. And now we'll joke also, and we'll say some weeks it feels like Christmas around here because there's so many gifts, there's so many challenges, right? But it's all about kind of how you take on that stressor and how you kind of look at it and reframe it to something a little more positive. So, when we talk about stress, I don't have to tell you guys because you guys all know this, as therapists, like we especially do not want to ever suppress our feelings. We want to make sure that we go through our feelings and experience them. The worst thing we can do is shove them under the rug or pretend, that we don't have them. The biggest thing is we don't want to stay stuck in them. And so I love, I love hearing this that actually stress has meaning. And it is actually a signal. It's not a weakness that you are failing or that there's something wrong or that you're not doing life right because you're having stress. Like that's not the case at all. So just curious right now, just to kind of hit this point home here. Does anybody in here get stressed about their family? Give me a thumbs up. Absolutely. Do these same people love their family? Absolutely. So we only stress about things that we love. I see the hearts. I see all the thumbs up. That's awesome. Okay. And what about our work? Does anybody in here ever get stressed about our work? Does anybody love their work? Awesome. Yeah. So we don't really stress about things that we care about. And so that's the kind of thing that I want you to take from this is that it is a signal, right? That this is something that really means something to us. And our job as clinicians and as good humans is to learn to handle our stress and not avoid it. I get asked to come and speak all the time and they say, "Hey, can you come, Susie, and talk about stress reduction?" And I always just kind of think, well, I can't reduce people's stress, but I can definitely teach people how to manage them and how to get through it in a better way because it's not going anywhere, right? We all long for this life of ease and nothing to go wrong, but that's just not realistic, right? We're going to have these things. And so one of my favorite exercises, I do this with clients, I do this to the crowds I speak with, I do this myself on my own personal life, but it's a little activity called rethinking stress. And this is actually on your handout that you'll get. And so later today or this weekend, I want you to take the time to think about your top stressors and to write them down. And then I want you to think about are these in your control or are they out of your control? And then I want you to take it a step further and to think about solutions. What can I try to make this situation better, especially if it is, if there's some things in your control? And then the key part of this is, what did I learn from this? What growing opportunity came from this? And you guys, I do this activity several times a week, and I found it to be a very healthy coping skill for me. And it's something so simple and so little. But you know what's wild? Is every single day I do this exercise, it changes. My stressors changes. From what could be family one time, it could be work another time, it could be my animals, it could be anything. And so it's awesome to do this, and a really healthy coping skill is obviously talking about and even just writing down what's bothering us, right? So I always talk about too, being solution focused. And in therapy, I practice solution focused therapy with my clients, right? I want to hear what's going on in your life. I want to hear the problem, what brings you into therapy. However, I want to spend way more time talking about and thinking about what solutions we can try in order to make this situation better. So being solution focused, both in our own personal life and as a clinician, is so huge. Some of you guys probably know this and love this scale. I know I do. I use it all the time in my therapy, and I always compare it to like a scale. Like if you were in pain and you went to your general doctor, and they asked you, rate your scale on a scale of 1 to 10, your pain. And if you were at a 5 or above on this scale, let's just say, and let's just say something, was making you mad, and we're talking about our feelings here, you're actually using the right side of your brain, your emotional part of your brain to respond, right? But if you're a 5 or below on this feeling scale, and you're like maybe at a 3 with something maybe you're angry or upset about, then you're actually using your logical part of your brain to respond. So, has anybody in the chat ever said something that they didn't mean when they were angry? Let's say you were at an 8, you were fighting with your spouse or something, and you're at an 8. Okay, has anybody in here ever said something you didn't mean? And then later on, when you calm down and you're at a 3, then you think, oh my gosh, why did I say that? It's because you're using your logical part of your brain, right? And so I love to think about that saying, and I love this saying, when emotions are high, logic is low. And you guys, when we are under a great deal of stress, a lot of times we're acting from our emotional part of our brain, right? And we're responding in ways sometimes that isn't always the best. And I know I, as a person, have said things when I'm under a great deal of stress that, I think back, man, I shouldn't have said that. And I have a little quote that I love to say is, we shouldn't say everything we think, right? Because we think a lot of thoughts. And I think not only as a clinician, but our other people, to kind of think that through and get to a healthier spot on that feeling scale before we do talk. But riding that wave of emotion when we're dealing with that stress, just knowing that this isn't our permanent, that it's going to pass, just like a wave does, is such a huge thing. And knowing that one of the biggest gifts that we can give to ourselves is just slowing down and taking a few deep breaths and bringing us from that 8 on that scale to maybe even a 4, right? And so I don't have to teach you guys deep breathing, because you guys all know, you guys are experts on this, and you probably have your own style. I know I love to use 4-7-8, and then I love to use the one big breath in and then two babies, and then breathing out very slowly, like you're breathing out into a little tiny straw, is one of my favorite ones too to do with clients. But honestly, as clinicians, we teach that all the time. But I'm giving you emotional permission today to make sure that you are able to use those as well, in your own personal life. Is just calming down that heart rate so you can come down that scale so that you feel less stress and you feel good, right? Who's the one voice that we hear more than anybody else's? It's our own, right? And our life is really about the quality of our thoughts. And I'm sure that you guys being therapists, you're well aware of the fact that we have, on average, humans have over 60,000 thoughts a day, which is so many thoughts, right? And unfortunately, a lot of our thoughts are negative. Around 80% of them actually are negative. And a Psychology Today article says that about 95% of our daily thoughts are actually repetitive. So we have the same thoughts over and over and over again, right? And we know why our human brain does that, right? Is trying to protect us, is trying to keep us safe. And so we actually have to work extra hard as humans, and then extra hard if we're in the helping profession, right? To really change those thoughts and to really get them into a good place. And so one of my coping skills that I love to teach a lot of times when we talk about stress even is just our focus. right? Because if we focus on our stress and our struggle in life, that's what we get. Or have any of you guys ever been like really angry about something and maybe a coworker or something said something to you and then you just keep thinking about it over and over and over again? What happens? It grows, right? It gets worse and it gets worse. And the same is true of our good in our life and our positive things and our things that are going well in life. If we choose to focus on those things, then those will grow and those will continue to be something that we do more of, right? And we see more of them just because that's what we're focusing on. Uh, does anybody in here ever wake up in the middle of the night? Maybe you fall asleep fine, but then you wake up in the middle of the night and you think about all the million of things that you have to do, right? And it's just, I don't know why, but sometimes our beds just call out all these things, right? Did I do something to make so and so mad? Is this bad thing going to happen to me today? And so even just I encourage people, those thoughts right there, doing some of those deep breathing, counting, that kind of thing can really help. And this next one is something that I absolutely love and I use it all the time. And I bet you as clinicians use this one too, or you teach it to your clients. It's taken from cognitive behavioral therapy. And I kind of do my own little spin on it, but it's been so helpful for me, especially in those nighttime, I guess worry kind of sessions that we do. But I want you guys all right now, we're going to practice this together, apply this to your life. So think about a negative thought that you've had today. I know I've got several. Okay. Now, how does that thought make us feel? And then what does that feeling make us want to do? Okay, so that thought obviously affects our feelings and it affects what we do, right? And so I want you to picture a stop sign right now, bigger than life, just right in front of you, stop. And then I want you to say these two magical words, and I use these all the time, not helpful. You're just going to gently remind yourself that, Susie, it is not helpful to continue thinking this way, right? And then we're going to think about something else. And I like to use the stop analogy of the stop, think, opposite, and positive for the acronym of that. And now to think about a thought that might be more kind to yourself, that might be more positive and productive and healthy. So get that new thought in there. And then thinking about, you know what? That one feels better to me. That feeling feels better. And that's going to make me be, have a healthier behavior. And so I love teaching that to clients, but I love incorporating that into my own self. And you guys, if you think about neuroplasticity in our human brain, like I get really excited talking about it, but the more and more we work at like redirecting these thoughts. And just because we're clinicians and helpers, we know all these things, doesn't always necessarily mean that we use them or that we remember to use those in those difficult moments. And so I'm just encouraging you, and I know I need constant reminders that, hey, we can use our own tools here and it's going to help us feel better. Another thing that stresses us out a lot of times as humans and helping professionals is that other people stress us out, right? And sometimes we get really worked up about other people. And we know more than anybody that a lot of times when people do things, it's not about us. It's a lot of times about something that maybe they're going through, and we just might be there in that moment, right? So this is your reminder not to take things personally. And I know that's impossible and that's really hard to do, but sometimes we just need that little kind of gesture of giving people some grace and letting things go, because usually nothing people usually do is because of us. So. Social media is another stressor, you guys, for a lot of people. And I wanted to share with you guys that, we actually, research tells us that we have more negative feelings than we do positive when we're on social media. So just making sure that you are using it in a good way, that you're using it for the good. And that if you have negative feelings, hop off. And don't put yourself through that, or maybe silence people or dismiss them, that kind of thing. I know I have a little thing that I do that I hop on for 5 minutes in the morning, not first thing, but a little later in the morning, and I post and I like anything, and then I'm off of it all day. And then the next time I'll hop on again, I'll like and I'll post for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'm off. I don't scroll all day, and I've had to be very aware of that so I don't use an escapism to social media. So. I'm going to go to the next one here. Another little activity and a hands-on thing that you can do for your stress, and that's what we're talking about right now, is something that we call the meaning of life activity. And you can look at these questions up here. You list your most meaningful roles, activities, relationships, and then what is the purpose of these? These are also on your handout. And then kind of working them through. And then if your life didn't have these things in your life, then would it be a life worth living? And so I just think it's a really powerful activity. I do this with a lot of groups. I know I've done it so many times, and every time I'm just like, wow, like I can work through this because it again means something to me. So, time. Oh my gosh. There's nothing more stressful, I guess, than feeling like you're not managing your time well, right? And I speak a lot actually to crowds on time management. I love speaking about time management. You guys, it is one of our most precious resources, and it's the one thing we can't get any more of. And so just learning how to make every minute count is so, so, so crucial. And a lot of times, you guys, unfortunately, we waste our time. And it's not that we want to be wasting our time, but we just kind of do. And does anybody ever do this? I'll do my notes at home. And then me at home, right? Because we're so, we're feeling those symptoms of burnout, or we're feeling like, just kind of like we don't have enough time to get everything done and rest. Or this guy, this is my day. And then after 8 sessions, this is how he looks, right? And so I think a lot of times kind of being aware of what we are spending our time doing is really, really important, especially when we talk about burnout and self-care. Because you know what? A lot of times it's easy to escape into video games, or I don't know about you, but I love to look on Facebook Marketplace, and I can spend a lot of time looking at that. Or, on the weekends, maybe you all of a sudden start binge watching a TV show on, Netflix, that kind of thing. And so being aware of that can really help us also. It will be less stressful if you're using your time doing things that really matter to you. And why we need to talk about time management and in this field, and why it goes along with burnout and stress is because a lot of times, you guys, we're people pleasers. We say yes to a lot of things, and we care about others even more than we care about ourselves sometimes. And does anybody ever feel like our job is never really done? Like, even if you feel like you're caught up, you still have, yeah, I see the thumbs going up. You still have things to do, right? And a lot of times too, we feel that pressure because, we carry other people's energy, and a lot of times we are our own family or our friends. They kind of use us in a good way as their therapist, right? And so we carry a lot, and there's a lot of things that goes on as far as taking on too much responsibilities, and that's kind of the cross we bear, if you will, being a clinician. So finding that healthy balance in life is really, really, really crucial. And some seasons, you guys, of our life is although I hate to admit it, we are on survival mode, right? Like maybe you have a graduate right now that's graduating from high school, and you might be on survival mode. Maybe you have a new baby at home, right? And you're on survival mode. Not all seasons are going to feel great. And just kind of giving yourself emotional permission to adjust to the season, and maybe figuring out what are some things in life that maybe you need to let go of in this season, and really setting some clear boundaries for yourself. So, like knowing your top three non-negotiables. So, maybe it's your family, right? And so, then are you spending time with your family, and are you saying no to other things that maybe aren't as precious? And I love to say, that saying that says every time you say yes to something, in life, you're saying no to something else. And that no could be something that you truly value. So, having some healthy boundaries will also help with this, as far as not answering everything immediately, not overcommitting yourself, separating your work from personal life. And as a clinician, isn't that hard to do when you care so much about everybody? Also, some other tips are just protecting your energy, not just your calendar. So, actually putting rest on your schedule. And I know that sounds wild, but there is science behind this as far as scheduling and calendaring your time to rest too. Taking real breaks, not just scroll breaks, getting enough sleep, moving your body, eating in a way that fuels you. I love it when I see somebody with a bag of potato chips and later on they're like, I have no idea why I'm so tired, but they just ate their chips for lunch, right? And even just like mental health check-ins. And we, it's funny because we work in this field, we live this field, but then how often do we really ask ourselves, how am I doing? Right. And even just doing our own work, and I just kind of led you through some of those exercises that you probably all really, really know, but are you actively reframing those thoughts, and are you giving yourself grace, knowing that you're doing the best that you can? right? And you're on this webinar today. So I know that you are taking the time to do something positive for yourself. And when you leave here, you're gonna feel so much better. So I'm proud of you. Also, you guys just getting really good at leaving work at work and having maybe even like a little mantra that you say to yourself, okay, you know what, this stuff can wait until the next time I'm here. I'm going to transition into home and I'm going to be present with my family and my friends and or whoever whatever I'm walking into. And then when you go back into work, right? Making sure that you transition into a positive way, saying, okay, I'm walking into work. Also, having a good to-do list. Can I see a thumbs up if you guys are good at to-do lists? Mate, writing down it too good. Okay. Oh, yay. That makes me so happy because sometimes I speak to groups and they're like, oh, no, I just keep it all up here. Well, we as clinicians know when you literally have 60,000 thoughts a day, how should we remember all that stuff? Our human brain isn't supposed to do that. And so just writing things down, getting it out of our head, knowing like that we can have a start and a stop time to things can be really, really powerful. Even carrying a little notebook, carrying a planner, having a calendar, all those things can really help reduce our stress and just knowing that we're going to get things done, but it doesn't have to be right now. It can wait until later. Okay, so we're going to transition into we're still talking about stress, but we're just going to talk for a couple minutes here on mindfulness and just how important that is. And again, I feel like I'm talking to my people, and I love talking about mindfulness with the general public, but then also you guys because you guys get it better than anybody. How easy it is for our minds to time travel, right? And so many times we'll be sitting with a client, right, or we'll be sitting with our own family, and what does our brain do? It jumps to the future or it jumps to the past. I know my husband sometimes will say something to me and then all of a sudden like think about, oh gosh, I didn't even just hear him. So I'll say, what was that again? Right? Because our minds are so busy. And I don't know about you, but I love this meme. This person is thinking about what? All of the crazy things going on in their life. And then what's the dog thinking about? Just the sun and the trees and the moment, right? I'm not telling you to think more like a dog, although they are more positive than humans. They're always happy and glad to see you and that kind of thing. But there's a lot of power in this, right? It just focus on what is around us. And so when we think about it from a helping perspective, when we are mindful, it actually helps us be more compassionate and more empathetic with our clients and with our friends. It actually helps our quality of our life. It reduces our stress. There's so many things. And it reduces our chances of burnout too, because we're actually focused on that moment and how powerful it is. Also, and I'm not going to go through everything. And I'm as a presenter, I hate a lot of words on a slide. But there's so many good research studies out there, and I actually have all the sources in the back of this presentation that I use. But there's just so much out there on mindfulness that is so good right now, especially for us as clinicians. And so I'm going to give you right now three different examples of how you can use this as being a professional, right? But again, your personal life. So, and this is in your handout, but while listening to someone speak, pause and take a deep breath. And while pausing, ask yourself, what is happening right now? And how am I feeling right now? And what might the other person be experiencing in this moment? Number two, practice sending loving kindness towards yourself or a loved one or towards a neutral person or towards a challenging person and to all human beings. And I don't know about you, but sometimes we struggle with people, right? So even just imagining yourself in this moment, sending them positive words, right? Or maybe you need to give yourself some TLC. I know I do. This week has been crazy, right? And then also, I love this one, talking about those transitions, another mindfulness approach here as a clinician. While transitioning to another part of your day, ask yourself, what am I experiencing right now? Now take several deep breaths and notice the sensation towards your whole body. With acceptance and clear your mind from your last session and picture yourself moving into your next session or meeting. Okay? So those are just three little ones that you can use. I absolutely love these. They help me slow down and really kind of be in that moment, and it makes me a better human, a better clinician. So. Okay, mindful gratitude exercise. If I'm in a big crowd, I will actually tell people this is the only time in the presentation, besides when you scan my QR codes or if I do a Slido, that you should get out your phone. But to get out your phone and to text somebody right now, and you can do this with me if you want to, and tell somebody how grateful you are for them. And you can pick somebody that maybe you haven't talked to in a while. You could pick somebody recently, but just send them a little message. And what this does, you guys, is it not only makes you feel grateful, but think about them getting that, right? They're going to be like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. One time I was talking to a group of construction workers and the guy said, well, I'm going to send this to my wife, but I never say stuff like this. So she's going to wonder why I'm grateful for her. And then a couple minutes later, he said, well, my wife responded and she says, who has your phone? Right? Because he was just, using an example of he doesn't normally do things like that. And so just even, remembering that it's just little small gestures like that that can improve our own mood and just focusing on what are those three things in life that we're grateful for. That's how I start my day every day when my alarm goes off is I literally say to myself, three things that I'm grateful for. And I can't say the same three things 2 days in a row. Because years ago, it used to be that I would wake up and my alarm would go off and I think, oh my gosh, I'm tired. It's early. I was up all night, that kind of thing. And now I'm like, okay, who am I grateful for today? Who was I grateful for yesterday? It's a beautiful, wonderful thing. Okay, and my last couple slides here, you guys are doing wonderful, and I'm so grateful to be talking to you today, is on self-care and wellness. And a couple slides on here. I love to use this analogy, and you can use it with your clients. Please use it with yourself right now, though. This is about you. If you can imagine that we all have these internal batteries inside of us, right? And some things and some people deplete us, right? And then there's some things and some people that actually charge us up and that make us feel like $1 million, right? And so I want you to think right now, looking at this picture, where are you at on this emotional ride of life right now? Like, where are you at on in this internal battery? Like, are you feeling like you're in the red zone or in the orange zone? Because what's wild about this is that if we are on the red part for many, many days, right, and we don't do anything to treat ourselves for that burnout, we're going to burn out, right? And we're going to be exhausted and emotionally overwhelmed and whatnot. So taking time every single day, you guys, to invest in yourself and to do a little bit of self-care can make a huge difference in the quality of your life. And years ago, I've been speaking for years at conferences, for businesses, that kind of thing. And one of the things is so crazy. I used to just, run around talking about it. And then I'm like, Susie, you're not taking care of yourself. And so I literally made it a point that if I'm going to speak on this, I'm going to be an advocate for it and I'm going to live it. And so it might only be literally 5 minutes a day that I might get to go soak in my Amazon blow up inflatable hot tub. Right? I can't make that up. That's a real story. But you know what? It feels good to me. Or maybe it's going to be writing in my journal. Or maybe it's going to be saying a devotion, right? Or reading something, or spending time in nature, whatever those things are for you, making sure that you plug it into your calendar every day. And I'm a big paper planner person. Like you should see my planner right now. It's wild. But I literally set schedule in my self-care because we tell our clients all the time, right? Like, hey, you need to be taking care of yourself. You need to be, oh, are you getting enough sleep? Are you, saying your prayers or whatever you believe in, that kind of thing. And so we need to live that for them so that they can see it. And maybe on the weekends you have more time than during the week. And maybe some days you don't get in any self-care. That's really realistic. However, then be intentional about it later because it's definitely going to charge you back up because we need you here. We need you in that green spot, right? That green charging zone so that you have more to give and that you feel great. And you are the only person that knows your internal battery, right? Nobody else does. And your internal battery looks much different than your spouse's. And it looks much different than your clients or your coworkers. So, again, in your handout, you guys, I'm super excited. You guys have a little chart in there. And I want you to take the time tonight or this weekend to go through that. And I want you just to set some very small habits, some very small intentions. It could be maybe drinking 8 glasses of water a day. It could be going for a walk. It could be maybe emotional. Maybe you should do your own work as a therapist. I know I encourage my whole company, you guys, if we're out there practicing this, we need to be taking care of ourselves and investing in what we're doing. And so you need to be doing your own work as a therapist and that kind of stuff. And so this is a powerful, powerful little burnout kit, if you will. And then actually, like I said, scheduling them in your calendar is huge. So a lot of times if we were face to face, I'd give you time to do that right now. But I want to make sure that we get to our questions times because that's really important. I love that you guys took this time for you today. This is huge. I know that you could have saw clients, you could have, maybe had lunch, you could have went for a walk, you could have done whatever, but I hope that you leave today feeling better and recharged and you have some things that you can carry on in your personal and professional life. So, what did we talk about? We talked about what the signs are of burnout. We talked a lot about stress and we learned some stress management coping skills. And we also talked about self-care and wellness. So I love a little dog who's awesome. You're awesome. You did it. Congratulations. So with that, we're a perfect time right now to talk about questions. And I know Jamie is on here moderating and she's going to see if there's any questions in the chat.
Okay, so first of all, they're wanting the QR code. If you could put that back up, that is the
Yeah,
we've gotten asked a couple times for the QR code.
absolutely. Yep. Let me see if there's a way I can. I'm going to stop sharing it for a minute so I can just get back to my normal slide here. Let me see. Hold on.
So while
Bear
she's
with.
getting the slide back up, if anybody has any questions, this is the perfect time to ask questions. So we always want to make sure that our webinars are judgment-free and opportunity to ask questions. So first of all, Susie, thank you so much. This was incredible. So thank you. And
Awesome.
then
Yeah.
questions, you can put it in the chat. You can put it in the Q&A, whatever you would prefer. But perfect time for questions. What questions do you guys have? I do know that somebody was asking if you could put the slide with your piece is.
Yes. Let's see if I can get. Let me go through them here quick and see what we got since we got a little bit of time. Um,
As you're going through that, just letting you know, we have a lot of thank yous. We have a, this is awesome. I really enjoyed this.
That's wonderful. Well, I know, like sometimes even though we know things, like there's a statistic that says that it takes us 7 times just on average of hearing things to retain it and whatnot. I just always need a good reminder. You know what I mean? Like as clinicians, like we practice, we preach things all the time, but just taking that time for self and doing those things, I just feel like is so huge. So I'm just really grateful that you guys. I'm trying to find what slide that is here. Let me know if you see it if it looks familiar to you. I'm a person I like a lot of slides. And let me see here. Let me move the chat so it's not in my way. Get to it eventually. Let me see. That one wasn't. Was it the give yourself emotional permission to have all the feelings?
I am not sure. It had just
Okay,
said
I'm looking for it.
your piece is.
Okay, we'll get to it. I think it's that one. Give yourself grace. Leave work at work, the to-do list,
So a couple
mindfulness.
things as you're still looking through this.
Okay.
So in terms of slides, we do not give out the slides for a lot of different reasons. But if anybody would like the handouts, the QR code that Susie put up is still available. Also, this has been recorded. We should have this
There we go.
recording up within like the next week or so on our YouTube channel. And so that is how you get access to the recorded video. And then you do have a question. So if you are feeling like you are in burnout, what are some baby steps to try to move yourself slowly out of burnout?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I love the fact that you're aware of that. I always feel like, self-awareness is the biggest thing and the biggest step to change or whatnot. So being aware and I love a little activity, especially kind of like when you're already feeling overwhelmed and you feel like you can't, you know what I mean? Like even sometimes like put that foot in front of the other, that kind of thing. There's a little activity called winning your day. And so basically what it looks like, and this is a really good one just for burnout and just for stress, but just like when you get up in the morning and you kind of think about like your day ahead, thinking of 5 things, just 5, not 25, just 5 things that if you do these things throughout the day that you're going to win your day. And they could be you start really small, right? Because momentum builds momentum. So just doing a little tiny thing. So that could mean eating breakfast, that could mean going to your job. That could mean doing one load of laundry. That could mean, playing a game with your kid, and that could be going to bed at by 9 o'clock, right? Those could be simple little steps that you've got to do anyway, but you know what? You get across them off and you get to do, and you build momentum, and you're just overcoming. And they could be tiny little baby steps. They could be big steps, but I love that it's actually called winning your day. I introduce that a lot to clients, and I talk with my own staff about that if they're kind of in their own spot. And I know I've had days where it's all you can do just to go through the motions, right? Another thing too, is you know what I have my own counselor that I see that I talk to here and there, and that really helps me have a safe spot that I can unpack whatever's kind of going on with myself. And sometimes I need to see her more often. Sometimes I don't see her for a long time. But just even taking that step of investing in yourself, because we tell we're grateful that our clients are coming to see us and we should be doing our own stuff. So sometimes even having a counselor or even a coach, a life coach, that kind of thing, if you can do it, can be really, really powerful. So those are a couple little things. And hopefully you download my handout and then those can help you. And you guys, and I've got my contact information too on there. If you go to the website or whatever, you guys feel free to email me, message me. You can find my information on there. I'm always here for other people. You guys are my people, so I appreciate the hard work you do.
Um, Also, someone else is asking for the QR code if you could put it back there. And certificate of attendance. I will be posting it in just a second. But a couple things to note with the certificate of attendance. It's for 1 contact hour. And um, and when you get the link, please save the link and the password. When everyone tries to get on at once, it will make the link crash. And so we ask that you please save the link, save the password, and try to get on a little later in the day. So some of you will be able to get on and some of you will not right now. So it is best if you save the link, save the password, and try to get the certificate throughout the day today instead of right now. If you get it right now, there's a good chance it will not work for you. It does work. I tried it earlier just to make sure. It's just when too many people try to do it at once, it'll crash it.
Mm. Okay. Thank you for that, Jamie. I also wanted to share too that there's going to be a lot of great presentations at Mental Health KC. I know a lot of our staff go every year, and we've loved it over the years. Learned so many things. We've got a lot of people presenting from Country Crossroads, which is always exciting. And I'll be there speaking on animal assisted therapy. If you're interested in that, how to get a program started, or what that looks like, or the benefits of animals, come see me. I'd love to see you. And then I'm also talking on leadership. So if there's leaders out there leader in the mental health field, it is much different leading in the mental health field than it is a lot of other fields. And so just really taking that time for you and learning how to be our best version of ourselves when we're leading other clinicians and helping professionals. So I hope that if you guys are able to come and see us, we'd love to see you in person.
And there's one other question. So, is there any special training you give to the horses before they are arrowhead ready?
Oh my gosh, so much. Yeah, yeah. So we used to shoot like bottle rockets like off just so they could hear that because like the energy of Arrowhead is unlike any other, it's kind of stadium and there's no way to like simulate that at home. But you used to shoot some bottle rockets off, have pom-poms like shaking by them. One of my war paints, there's two war paints. She was very afraid of like the flag warriors, and if she saw like either a player or ref or like a flag coming at her, like she would always kind of spook. So we did a lot of like stuff like that at home. One of the horses hated the mascot Casey Wolf, and it's funny because Dan Mears was one of my great friends. So every time the wolf would come near her, she would just lose her mind. And so we had a wolf head for a while at the barn where we would like walk around with it and try to like get her used to it. And so it's just kind of funny, but yeah, so many little things that you don't even think about. As we know as clinicians, we feel people's energy, right, within like 3 feet from us, and horses can feel it times 10. So it's pretty interesting what can happen with that and stuff. So. And the rumble she struggled with too. If you're a Chiefs fan, if the rumble was behind us in the parade or anywhere near us, they would look around and we would do like earplugs in their ears to kind of protect them and like stuff on their feet so that they wouldn't track up the field any worse than the players did anyway. So yeah, good question. And I think I told you guys in the beginning too, they're now therapy horses out here at our barn. So clients get to enjoy them and they still get to share love and joy to so many. And the one of the War Paint Jr. had a baby and we named it Kelsey. So if you're a Chiefs fan, you know who Kelsey is. We named it Kelsey, so it's kind of fun.
Okay, everyone. Well, thank you all so much. Thank you so much, Susie. Looking forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. And I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you all so much. Hope to see everyone at the Mental Health KC conference in 2 weeks. We will not have a webinar in 2 weeks. We will have the conference. So if not, we will see you guys. We'll have our next webinar on the second, about a month from now, the second Thursday in June. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your day. Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.